And everyone, while we are chanting, please to take this as a prayer and not just as words. Now that you know the meaning, try and invoke the meaning as we chant the words also. It should never be a mechanical repetition. We will slip into it, but if we keep a habit from the beginning that these words have a meaning and they're not just lip service, and we tune into the meaning, then you realize that very soon there is a different enjoyment from it. So, for who's not chanting with me, rest of us, when you follow it, do it as a prayer or whichever way you feel comfortable connecting to it. Yes, आप हमारे बात फॉलो करिए आके रो रहे जी सहनावतु
सहनावतु
सहनौ भुनक्तु
सहनो भुनक्तु
सहनौ भुनक्तु
सहनौ भुनक्तु
सह वीर्यं करवावहै
सह वीर्यं करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
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 धीतमस्तु
मा विद्विषावहै
मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
वसुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रम्
वसुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रम्
नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय
तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते
तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते
वसुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रम् नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रम् नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दम्
गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
नित्यं नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
साधनचतुष्टय सम्पन्ना
साधनचतुष्टय सम्पन्ना
अधिकारिणा
अधिकारिणा
मोक्षसाधनभूतम्
मोक्षसाधनभूतम्
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारम्
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारम्
वक्ष्यामः
वक्ष्यामः
साधनचतुष्टयं किम्
साधनचतुष्टयं किम्
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
इहामुत्रार्थफलभोगविरागः
इहामुत्रार्थफलभोगविरागा
विरागः
विरागः
क्षमादिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
क्षमादिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
मुमुक्षुत्वं चेति
मुमुक्षुत्वं चेति
नित्यवस्त्वेकं ब्रह्म
नित्यवस्तुवेकं ब्रह्म
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं सर्वमनित्यम्
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं सर्वमनित्यं
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं
सर्वमनित्यम्
सर्वमनित्यम्
अयमेव नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
अयमेव नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
ब्रह्म सत्यं जगन्मिथ्या
ब्रह्म सत्यं जगन्मिथ्या
इति एवं रूपो विनिश्चयः
इति एवं रूपो विनिश्चया
विनिश्चयः
विनिश्चया
विनिश्चयः
विनिश्चयः
सोऽयं नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
सोऽयं नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
समुदाहृतः
समुदाहृतः
ब्रह्म सत्यं जगन्मिथ्या
ब्रह्म सत्यं जगन्मिथ्या
इति एवं रूपः
इति एवं रूपः
विनिश्चयः
विनिश्चयः
सोऽयं नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
सोऽयं नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
समुदाहृतः
समुदाहृतः
अबाध्यत्वं सत्यत्वम्
अबाध्यत्वं सत्यत्वम्
अबाध्यत्वं सत्यत्वम्
अबाध्यत्वं सत्यत्वम्
स्वाभावाधिकरणे
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 भासमानत्वं
भासमानत्वम्
मिथ्यात्वं
मिथ्यात्वम्
स्वाधिष्ठाननिष्ठा
स्वाधिष्ठाननिष्ठा
अत्यन्त अभावप्रतियोगित्वम्
अत्यन्ताभावप्रतियोगित्वम्
अत्यन्ताभावप्रतियोगित्वम्
अत्यन्ताभावप्रतियोगित्वम्.
I will also chant this by breaking the two sandhis, the sandhi itself, so that we remember the word always. Atyanta abhava pratiyogitvam.
अत्यन्तभावप्रतियोगित्वम्.
I have broken the sandhi here, so it is atyanta abhava.
अत्यन्त अभाव.
And when we don't break, then we are chanting correctly. But so that we remember the word, so I'm breaking it now.
Right.
Atyanta abhava pratiyogitvam.
अत्यन्तभावप्रतियोगित्वम्.
Atyanta abhava
अत्यन्त अभाव
pratiyogitvam.
प्रतियोगित्वम्.
Mithyatvam.
मिथ्यात्वम्.
Thank you. Very good. So we will try to consolidate and recapitulate what the Shastra, Jnana Shastra, Vedanta Shastra talks about qualifications of a human being. And if we generalize these words, it means those qualities which mark the maturity of a human mind. Human body, everybody would have. As a human species, everyone has a human body. But the mind within needs a certain level of deliberate effort to mature it. Just as when you put some little in a warm milk, you put that little 1/4 of a teaspoon of set curd, previously set curd. When you put it now in warm milk and leave it for a little while, you find the whole milk becomes curd. This deliberation of adding something to a previously self-existing state. No doubt the original nature of curd is its state of milk. But this milk has become curd, and that curd is now getting even a small little fraction of the previous curd is now getting utilized for a fresh set of curd, which means if that processing hasn't done to the milk, warm milk, if we did not add that little curd, जामुन जिसे हम कहते हैं, अगर वो नहीं डाला गया, तो you don't get milk maturing into curd. Curd has certain distinctness about it. Milk is distinct from curd. Though curd is milk, but the distinctness of it starts to express itself. In the very same manner, Vedas views a human being, irrespective of class, gender, race, age, irrespective of anything, boundary, religion. It's your human body which defines you, the human beingness. Vedas is universally applicable to every human being. The guidance Veda gives to a human being is, just as a human body, nature takes care of its growth. It's inherent in nature. प्रकृति का ही स्वभाव है ये. ये from a unicellular, bicellular, multicellular organs, organism is complexed and it keeps on growing and then slowly declines and then disintegrates. This is in Prakriti with every manifestation, so it is with the human body also. But the indweller in the body, this indweller actually has another faculty within, जिसको हम ज्यादा मैं कहते हैं. शरीर को तो हम मैं कहते ही हैं. मेरा शरीर, मैं ये नहीं कह सकती कि ये शरीर यहाँ पे किसी और का है. शरीर मेरा ही है. But I can still see that it is changing and it has to go through its course of what we call as Shad Vikar. Where there is birth, excuse me. Wherever there is birth of a human body, it is but natural that this body will grow and then remain appearing for a period of time in that sthiti kal, jahan if everything is fine and normal, you tend to come into middle age unaffected by major things, averagely, and then slowly, while actually the process of decline started the very second the growth of the body stopped, but the decline doesn't seem perceptible till another period of time. मगर ये प्रकृति के नियम में ही है. अगर आप बीज बोते हो तो वो बीज, अगर उसको पानी मिल रहा है, उसको सनलाइट मिल रही है, तो वो बड़ा होता ही है, पेड़ बनता ही है और फल देता है और बीज और बनता है. All of this is in the cycle which is the same as in a human body. Human body follows the same cycle. But a human mind, if you see from other animals and you see human mind, Veda has clearly, compassionately, I would say, gives the guidance, education that a human mind will not mature in the same way like a human body matures on its own. The point is on its own, which means there will be some deliberation that will be required to mature it. And the example I gave just now is, just as you put that little curd in milk and you have matured the milk into curd, in the same way, Shastra says that little introduction to your mind, you have to add something to your mind other than what your senses generate for you. What senses generate for you is in Prakrit Swabhav, Prakrit state. But what you are deliberately adding to your mind is what will help mature the mind. In time is an understated statement. That maturity, just as milk did not become mature overnight, in the same way, there will be maturity of the mind in time. One of the qualifications of that maturity is that a human being has the capacity to discern. Viveka buddhi is developed. उसमें जो एक शक्ति है, एक क्रिया की शक्ति है, means capacity to act. उसमें एक विवेक की शक्ति है, means capacity to think rationally, to think in a manner that it can clear up certain mixed up things that it feels in the perception. वो सोच के उनको अलग करने की शक्ति है एक ह्यूमन माइंड में. This capacity is matured fully. Means the person has now become fully matured when he is able to utilize this capacity to discern between permanent and impermanent. जीवन में सत्य क्या है और क्या नहीं है. Forget any other word for now. जीवन का सत्य क्या है, जीवन में सत्य क्या है, सत्य कुछ है भी कि नहीं है. And for that satya we said, Shastra does not leave us anywhere in individual mode of self-discovery without guidance. Because अगर इंसान अपने आप से सोचना शुरू करता है तो उसका purview of thinking is only जो उसके दिमाग में है. He cannot think anything beyond what he already has in his own mind. So someone has to first introduce the human mind to something which is probably indicative of the answer. The question is, जीवन में कुछ सत्य है भी कि नहीं है. एक इंसान दूसरे इंसान को क्या बोल सकता है. There'll be vivad, there'll be discussion, there will be arguments, there will be, one will say I think so, other will say I don't think so, and it is inconclusive. Because who will conclude who is right? One person says, there is truth. And then he goes on to elaborate that truth is God. And then God is this and God is that and then God is, and then now this is what. Now all this will start because a person may say, I think so. There is no way to say you're right or wrong. Other person can contradict and say, but I'm sorry, I don't think so. I don't think there is anything called truth. I don't, सत्य कुछ है ही नहीं इस जीवन में, बस आए पैदा हो गए. It's all a coincidence and creation. It is all just a, what is that word? I keep forgetting that word. There is a whole philosophy, modern day philosophy that has arisen around it, which is, forgotten the word. It boils down to saying that it's just an accident. Life is just an accident. Nature's accident. And then the quote goes on to say nature's greatest mistake, human being, is you just believe that life is an accident. So some will say with great certainty, there is nothing called truth. सत्य कुछ है ही नहीं. Why bother your brain about it? बस आए हो, पैदा हुए हो, जो करना है करो, खाओ पियो, do what you want. इसमें थोड़ा रोना धोना है, थोड़ा हंसना खेलना है, बस उसके बाद क्या? Everybody has disease, everybody will die. Finished. You will never come back again. There is no rebirth. There is no coming back. And the example is given by them. Just as a river doesn't return back to its origin in the same course. पीछे नहीं जाती ना, वो आगे जाती है. Means you have a manifestation and you have gone. That's it. Human thinking Shakti manifests fully. पक जाती है जब एक इंसान इस पे rationally, without prejudice, without bias, without any leaning, is an inquirer like a scientist is. Inquiring truth. What is truth? And Shastra then takes you to the definition. The definition it says is, Abadhyatvam Satyatvam. How will you start thinking? You start thinking along the line, if there is something to be true, then truth must have the characteristic of being unnegatable. उसका बाध नहीं हो सकता. बहुत बड़ा लक्षण है हमारी सोच का. Agar my thinking is subject to change, if I'm thinking about something and that object is subject to change, if whatever I'm thinking on, that whole thing is subject to change, then that cannot be truth. It can be truth for the time being, but it cannot be a lasting truth. For it to be lasting, the criteria is it remains unnegatable, available in all periods of time, space and conditions. हर अवस्था में वो रहता है. The Hindi word is correct for this. Condition हम फिर भी बहुत अलग तरीके से सोचते हैं मीनिंग को. अवस्था में रहता है. हर अवस्था में जो वैसा ही रहता है, जो चीज है लेकिन वैसे ही रहती है, चेंजलेस, वो सत्य है. एंड इफ दैट इज सत्य, देन जो चेंज होती हुई अभी दिख रही है, फॉर द टाइम बीइंग व्हाट वी सेड, इट इज देयर, it looks there real, I'm contacting it, I can see that it is available for now and it is there. वो जो relative truth है, that relative reality, this relative reality Shastra says is mithya. सत्य मिथ्या का विवेक करना, thinking, discerning what is real and what appears real is the right word. Normally when we talk of opposite of real, we say unreal. Unreal means it is imagination, it's not there, जो है ही नहीं. And the Shastra gives the example of like horns on a man's head. Do we have horns on a human being's head? We don't have. That means this is unreal idea. This is called unreal, which can never ever, it's not real now and it can never be real. So anybody is saying, hey man, तेरे सर पे सींग आ गए हैं, you know, in Hindi you say that to your friends sometimes and you joke about it, that तेरे सर पे सींग चढ़ गए हैं. What is it, तेरे सर पे सींग आ गए हैं? You're jokingly saying, you know, it's not there. You also know it will never, it's unreal. It doesn't mean कि तेरे सर पे सींग आ गए. I don't have to inquire, find, search. मुझे कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है क्योंकि ये हो ही नहीं सकता है. तो ये जो दुनिया हम देखते हैं, ये जो दुनिया में हमें सब दिख रहा है, हम खुद दिख रहे हैं, you know, जन्म है, मरण है, सब कुछ हो रहा है, हानि है, लाभ है, डिजीज है, fear है, insecurity है, anger है, greed है, jealousy है, सब कुछ है. It makes it variegated. What we see as a variegated world. That no two things, even two human beings are not even alike. Not even two human, when the whole body is the same for all human beings, you don't have two human beings alike. Such is the variegation, such is the plurality seen. This plurality, can we dismiss it to say that it is not there? No. Shastra says it is not non-existent. But what it is relative. जो है लेकिन हमेशा हर अवस्था में नहीं रहता. Something that is there but it doesn't stay. अबाधित नहीं है, वो बाधित है. Very big clue for advanced thinking later on, if ever, when you get to Upanishads, even when you come to Gita, you know, it is a very important, you grab it to your soul kind of a statement for your reflection. अगर कुछ है जो नेगेटेबल है, कुछ है जो टाइम में नेगेट हो जाएगा, तो व्हाट वैल्यू कैन आई गिव टू इट? If I am able to see with this understanding, life, my life, everyone's life, world over here, कि यहाँ पे सब बाधित है, अगर सब बाधित है तो what is real? If this is बाधित in time, in space, in अवस्था, तो सत्य क्या है? That satya which he said ekam brahma, you bring the condition of satya and mithya to your own self first. मेरा सोच में, मेरी ही analysis में, what about me is satya and what about me is mithya? Am I entirely mithya? Because I'm going to be born, I'm born and I will die one day. That means मैं बाधित हूं ना? अगर मैं बाधित हूं तो मैं मिथ्या हूं. अगर सब मिथ्या है, जगत मिथ्या है, तो I just learnt to my own self, जो मिथ्या है उसको I cannot give it the same value. इतनी importance दी नहीं जाती. I don't know if you relate to this, but तुम्हें समझ, जो चीज कल को बदल जाएगी तुम उसको पकड़ के रख ही नहीं सकते हो. तुम्हें पता है कि ये तो बदलती हुई चीज है ना. So as long as it is there, you will enjoy it, you cherish it, you keep it, you preserve it for whatever it's worth, you put whatever you can, but you never get deluded that it is going to last forever. आप अपना आनंद उस चीज पे नहीं डिपेंड कर लेते. The dependent happiness from something that is going to change, that dependency goes away from it. The dependency of it staying with you, which will give you happiness, that dependency goes. But yes, life is all in that flow. Things will come, things will go. As long as they are there, we cherish them, we preserve them, we give our best in it, we enjoy it, we interact with it, we live it to the fullest. हर पल, मतलब I'm taking a little detour only to say कि इसका फायदा क्या है. इस सोच का कहाँ तक परकुलेट हो जाता है हमारे जीवन में ये कि हम हर क्षण को इतना पूरा जीते हैं. When this thinking gets settled in my system and I accept it as truth, I know that ये क्षण मेरा फिर नहीं आ रहा. इस क्षण को हम पूरा जी लेते हैं. Because I have no looking back to the previous क्षण. You know what, all this mindfulness has emerged in life, and there are a lot of spiritual practices, a lot of spiritual schools which come from such fundamentals of knowledge. Vedanta is a fundamental of knowledge. From here you can expand many schools and many ideas, because this is the root. From root can come many things. From that root, what has come? If I am able to understand that this world is mithya, if I understand that what in me is mithya, आज दिख तो रही है मगर ये appearing true है, it is not true. When I am able to see that mithya, this mithyatvam, nishchay, he said in the previous verse, iska nishchay karna. And when that gets settled in me, I don't have a doubt with reference to my perceptions, remains steady. When I wake up and day after day, year after year, I can't forget the mithyatvam of Jagat. Mithyatvam further in me is the topic we have started. What in me is mithya? But what do I gain out of it? I took a detour to say that. क्या मिलता है मुझे इस सोच से, इस समझ से? क्या लाभ क्या है इस समझ का? The greatest लाभ of this is you can't even imagine the amount of freedom that you experience when you start living a moment to its fullness. with the knowledge, this is not recurring back. You don't need any other exercise after that. All the mind training, mindfulness, etc., etc., everything falls off because you yourself want to live fully, knowing well that nothing here is permanent. And jab tak mila hai, jab tak hai, how will you approach it? How will you deal with it? How will you live with it? You will live with it with a lot of thankfulness and gratitude and a lot of, I can't express the words probably, but there is just nothing but appreciation of what you have. However, your mind may see flaw in it, but you know if this thinking is settled in you, that flaw cannot be there in what you have got, because what you have got is perfect in its place and it is changing. जो आज है बस वो आज है and आज ही रहेगा. आज में भी अब. That capacity to live it full. This discernment of mithya with satya. The definition that he gives here is, how do you know लक्षण क्या है मिथ्या का? ये इतना गहरा टॉपिक है, trust me, 6 months I can spend only on this topic, just on this topic, because it is so deep. How do you know what is mithya? मिथ्या का लक्षण ये है कि in its place where it is seen, वहां पे वो substantial नहीं है. It is not there. Example, yes, our rope and snake. Without this example, it is very difficult to understand mithya. In that combination that you see there, to some it appears rope, to some it appears snake. When you start examining the snakeness of this image, here it's an image, but it is obviously supposed to be physically there in perception. When you start discerning it, ये snake है कि नहीं है, at that time, the locus on which, locus means adhishtan, जिस अधिष्ठान में आपको ये सर्प दिख रहा है, the snake scene, that adhishtan is actually looking non-separate from rope. You can't see a rope separate and a snake separate and the two together over here. आप या rope देखोगे या snake देखोगे, आप दोनों नहीं देख रहे. लेकिन जब snake दिख रहा है तो आप घबरा रहे हो, आप uncomfortable हो, आप fearful हो, आप anxious हो, आप उससे भागना चाहते हो. You want to get rid of it. You don't want to approach it. Watch all my words carefully. These are all psychological reactions that we give. When I see a snake there, I automatically have all these in me because snake is not a desirable conclusion for me. Therefore, I start having all this. A mind which starts feeling all this, शास्त्र का एक वर्ड है, वो है, ये संसार है. Sansar never meant the world outside. Sansar means the disturbance of the mind. That my mind feels all this, anxious and fearful and defeated and depleted and dejected and depressed and suppressed and clueless and जो कुछ भी disturbance के अंदर आता है. It can be any emotion. It is not a emotion. It is a combination that comes together. वो जो सारा feel होता है, and the bottom line that you know is that you are disturbed. You are not happy. You are not joyful. And I always say, when it comes to happy and joyful, अगर आपको कभी भी लगे कि आपको joy nahi, you just have to bring to your mind the image of a child. You were that child, remember? You alone was, when you bring the image of a child, you bring some other child in your image. That joyful hasta, that full of life kind of a. But who was that child? You were also the child before. What that really means is the capacity to enjoy. Enjoy not senses, your own nature, your own self. That joy that exude, that is just reflective. आप उसे दबा नहीं सकते. If you don't feel that joy in you, and shana, that means the mind has already been entangled in जकड़ गया है संसार में. और अगर वो संसारी माइंड हो चुका है, then now starts all the spiritual practices. अब इसको अलग कैसे करोगे? That discernment, when you see a snake, means that disturbance in your mind. At that point, you are not seeing the joyful you. That joyful you is also just relative because you're associating it with the body. But this joyful you, behind it is what? That you're aware, that you're conscious. You're conscious that now you're happy, and then you're conscious that you were not happy before. The snake scene, wherever it is seen, implies that अपनी अवस्था में, अपने अधिष्ठान में, अगर आप एग्जामिन करोगे अपने डिस्टर्बेंस को, तो you will realize that उसका अधिष्ठान क्या है? First, the relative joy. I myself have experienced joyful moments in my life. If I can be joyful, then this disturbance, does this belong to me? Am I disturbed? And suddenly you realize, no, this is that snake here. This is mithya. Therefore, I reduce it first to joyful. But is joyful really permanent? No, because if it was, why would I get disturbed at another point? That joyfulness is coming from where? Unless and until I trace it back to its origin. And that origin is, in my consciousness arises joy. In my consciousness arises disturbances. In that consciousness, does either joy or disturbance actually inhabit? Is it there in that consciousness? Is it consciousness which is joyful and disturbance? That's the right way to put it. Do you get this sentence? I'll repeat the sentence. Is it consciousness which is joyful or disturbed? Yes or no? Yes. Consciousness, awareness is not joyful or disturbed. I am joyful or disturbed. But I is associated with this form. This form itself is temporary. And my cognition of I with reference to this form remains temporary. That means when this form goes, where is the I? Forget up to that point. रोज हम सोते हैं, वेदांता के 2-3 बातें जिंदगी भर के लिए आप सोच सकते हो और वो गहरी जाती रहती है. One is this rope snake. The second is your 3 experiences that you go through every day and never register and question them. Your waking state, your sleep state, and your dream state. That this entire wakingness, where has it come? Your cognition of I, मैं हूं, ये मैं हूं कहने वाला, is it not a part only of your waking state? With waking world, with waking people, with waking objects, wakeful state में सब कुछ है. But I've repeated this before in this class itself, but I sleep off. Every day, the greatest one of the stories is पूछा जाता है, एक स्टूडेंट एक टीचर से पूछता है कि व्हाट इज द ग्रेटेस्ट मिरेकल ऑन दिस in life, what is the greatest miracle? And the teacher says the greatest miracle is our non-registering, not questioning, not registering. No one registers that you actually leave the waking world every day. Day is also a part of the waking world. आप रोज छोड़ते हो इसको, स्वभाव से छोड़ देते हो. आप रोज कुछ सपने लेते हो नींद में, मतलब इन योर ड्रीम स्टेट, और आप रोज ड्रीम स्टेट भी छोड़ते हो, वो ड्रीम वापस भी नहीं आता है, और आप गहरी नींद भी सोते हो और उससे भी उठ जाते हो. और ये पूरा रोज लाइक अ साइकिल, लाइक सन, like earth moving round the sun, day and night, day and night, day and night. आपका सोना उठना, सोना उठना, सोना उठना, बीच में सपने ले, ये सब चलता रहता है, चलता रहता है, चलता रहता है. The miracle is, he says, nobody questions it, nobody registers it. 1/3 of your experience is your waking world, and you want to find out the truth in just that 1/3 of your existence. That 1/3 of your experience is your waking world. The other 1/3 is your dream world. The other 1/3 is your sleep world. World is only not in the real sense, means your experience, your dream experience, your sleep experience, your waking experience is the right word. All three belong to you. तो ये जो जागृत अवस्था का हंसना खेलना कूदना जॉय सौरो है, ये आपके स्वप्न अवस्था में कहाँ गया? The same thing. What we are tending to measure is from waking to waking. Vedanta and Vedas and Vedanta in specific, because ज्ञान मार्ग है, ज्ञान प्रक्रिया है ये. It's a consciousness, awareness, expansion process. If you are, forget waking to waking. Let's take the cycle from sleep, dream and waking, sleep, dream and waking. One cycle is sleep, dream and waking. Let's take that as one cycle. My yesterday sleep, dream and waking. You know, yesterday कहना भी waking से ही है. If you actually start registering it, then waking, dream and sleep is only repeated. Waking, dream and sleep is repeated. The point I'm making is, yesterday what disturbed me when I slept off, क्या वो उस स्थान में था? Disturbance in my sleep, was that there? Was the disturbance felt in sleep? Yes or no?
No,
No,
we don't feel. Yeah.
it won't, no?
Yes.
No,
That means,
sometimes it is. A
sorry?
lot of times it is. If you're anxious, if you're worried, it affects it comes directly to your sleep and
No. But when you are sleeping, you remember it when you wake up. But when you are actually sleeping, in that moment of sleep, where was it?
yeah, I don't know.
Actually, in that moment of sleep, yes, you woke up again because the mind was so disturbed, you didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
Therefore, you carried it to some extent because you did not sleep. That's not called sleep then.
That's waking.
That's still waking. Absolutely correct. That's still waking. Now, मिथ्यात्वम तो solve हो ही गया हमारा. If it is absent in that state, वो हर अवस्था में नहीं रहा ना. The आनंद that you got from waking state, supposing अभी बहुत आनंद आया किसी चीज में हमको, what I really wanted I got, whatever it was I wanted job, I wanted status, I wanted money, I wanted fame, I wanted studies, I wanted family. I got it. I'm very, very happy, very, very happy, very, very. I'm the most joyful person. I'm the most lucky person. I'm just so happy. I can't tell you how happy I am. And you sleep. कहते कहते you go off to sleep. मजे से अच्छा, और उस दिन बहुत अच्छी नींद आएगी because now you're happy. उस दिन जो अच्छी सी नींद आई है, let's change the example then. Where has all that happiness gone in that sleep? So the inquiry is, विवेक है कि जो ये perception हो रही है हमारी और दुनिया की, I'm concluding now. ये जो हमें perception हो रही है हमारी और हमारी दुनिया की, and हम इससे अलग हैं और हम हैं. I am myself, and you know that. Of us have that little beautiful expression of our individuality. I am different from everyone else. That's it, you know. That notion that I am separate, I am different, I am unique, I am alag tumse and tum mujhse alag and मैं तुमसे अलग and ये and अलग 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 जो सब कुछ perception है, वेदांत कहता है ये दोनों ना आज एक mixed up वाली स्थिति है. It's like this image here. हुआ क्या है कि there is this mix-up को अब आपको अलग करना है, और अलग में आपको देखना ये है कौन सी ऐसी perceptions हैं जो आ रही है और जा रही है, और कौन सी ऐसी perception है जो आ भी नहीं रही, जा भी नहीं रही, बस है. I'll repeat this. I know it's a little needs a little hearing. कौन सी ऐसी perception है, मीन्स कौन से ऐसे मेरे विचार हैं, thoughts हैं, या जो मैं carry कर images, thoughts. I don't have another word for perception. How I perceive the world and myself. What are those perceptions that come and go? Don't judge them. Someone was asking meditation yesterday. A lot of people, when you get to know this, want to think in meditation. What do you want to think? Because you need a lot of quiet time to yourself to just observe the play of thought. What are the perceptions that I'm carrying which are coming and going? And what is a perception which is neither coming nor going but is always there? I don't want to give you an answer, because by giving you an answer, you will feel you know it. But I will not. I'm glad that all of you are, at least you have minimum no hearing of Vedanta before, because that's the people. If you've already heard before, you will know the answer and it looks so easy, but there is no movement. So don't look for an answer. Search the answer. What is the answer? This clue is good enough. Rest, while you keep studying Vedanta, you will keep getting the answer. What is the answer? What is the clue? The clue is, when you are sitting now, if we just sit, forget everything, no writing, no nothing, just sit. And as you sit, just watch your thoughts. Don't judge them. Don't call them good, bad, right, wrong, nothing. What is the nature of thoughts? They change. They don't remain. Thoughts all have to do with certain perceptions, objects, people. If thoughts change, they change because objects change, people change. They change. Now, how much reality you feel about those thoughts at that point of time? All of us in our growing years as children, we've all had that one best friend. Remember, all of us? That one as kindergarten and primary schools. We've had that one best friend जिसको बारे में हम सोच भी नहीं सकते थे उस वक्त के लिए कि उसके बिना हम जिंदगी जी भी सकते. That friend was to be such a permanent part of our life. The perception at that time of that friend, can you recall? What is that perception of that friend there? The same friends you meet today, in thanks to all our modern technology. In this example was perfect 30 years ago or even 20 years ago, before all this WhatsApp and everything came up. Because when you were finishing your school, you were not sure that you would meet your friends again. I'm talking about that generation now. Some of us have thought we have new phase, new set of people. That's it. Now, when you actually recall the आराम से बैठ के हर thought आपका आएगा जाएगा. Don't identify with it. If you don't identify with it, you will just see them coming and going. This coming and going में जो आपको एक सत्यत्वम लग रहा था ना वहां पे, remember at that moment it looked as if this is permanent. पता नहीं, you know it is going to change, but it looks like a long haul. ये पता नहीं कब बदलेगा. It looks like a long perception, changeless. But in your thought, by the time you have even thought about it, the other thought has already replaced it. Now you're thinking about something else. Most of our minds are indisciplined. We don't stick to one thought or one topic for long. Our minds run. Now, when that is getting done, question yourself, is there something in my perception? It should be. In my experience, it should be. Otherwise, I can never have knowledge of it. Is there something which is neither coming nor going? Thought आया गया, waking आई गई, dream आया गया, ego आई गई, likes इच्छाएं आई गई, दोस्त आए गए, पैसा आया गया, घर आया गया, बच्चे आए गए, स्टेटस आया गया, आई डोंट नो, ब्यूटी आई गई, मेमोरी आई गई, रिश्ते आए गए. क्या है? व्हाट आर ये मन में जो भरा हुआ है, ये किस चीज से भरा हुआ है? जो आ रहा है जा रहा है, मगर वहां पे एक सेंस ऑफ रियलिटी दिख रही है जो बदल बदल के उस चीज में रह रही है. चीजें बदल गई लेकिन सेंस ऑफ रियलिटी बदली. About them, when I was a child, it looked real then. Then I grew up and as an adolescent, all my adolescent issues were so real that I couldn't imagine how childhood issues of crying for a toy even was important to me, because my adolescent issues now looked as if these are the issues. Adults don't even understand them. जिंदगी तो मतलब क्या है, बड़े लोग रोते रहते हैं, लड़ते रहते हैं, असली इश्यूज तो ये होती हैं. And then you grow into becoming an adult and you realize, what was I making hella of those issues? These are the issues. Do you see the sense of reality? Have you transferred it? The clue further is, there was something that was constantly transferring a reality to whatever is there in front of you. It was transferring the reality. It was imposing the reality. The reality sense. What is that sense? Because उसको मैंने ना आते देखा ना जाते देखा, मगर मेरा उसके रहता है, क्योंकि ये रियलिटी का सेंस जाता नहीं कहीं. So when I'm sleeping, that sleep was real. When I'm dreaming, the dream is real. When I wake up, this waking is real. Now it's beautiful. Over here only, the Vedanta actually says, rest of your life, if you can, dwell on this till you clinch it. What else is there to think about? इसने ये नहीं किया, उसने वो नहीं किया, वो ऐसे, वो वैसे, ये है, वो. अरे तुम रोज सो रहे हो, उठ रहे हो, जाग रहे हो, ये तुम्हें सोचना नहीं है. ये कहाँ हो रहा है? Where is it happening? ये हो कैसे रहा है? Suddenly I'm an individual fluttering my wings and making hawa in this world to say, may I also exist करके, I want to define myself, I want to be something, I want to achieve something. इतना शोर मचाती हूँ मैं और मचाता हूँ मैं as I wake up कि इस दुनिया must feel my presence. And dream में I'm dreaming a tiger chasing me. In a dream I'm dreaming that I'm falling from a precipice. In a dream I'm dreaming that I am flying in the air. In a dream I'm dreaming पता नहीं क्या 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 क्या. No connection, cause and effect. Suddenly one dream and another dream and कुछ भी नहीं. A lot of psychology would say it is coming from my waking. Yeah, we are not going into all of that. We are only saying examine your experience. And then that sense of reality was there in the dream while you were dreaming. And then when you slept, the sense of reality is there. Question here is, I'm not giving you the answer, but the answer is very evident. But if you ponder for a little while, the level at which you will ponder and when you will hear the answer, because वो निकलेगा किसी ना किसी class में, because without it, no Vedanta is complete. When that answer comes, if you've pondered beforehand, then you will see the answer fit like a hand in glove. What is the sense of reality? I'm not asking a question. I'm not expecting an answer. Let us just think what is this that is carrying throughout. Then the next question will come later on, which we cannot verify. Does this sense of reality carry into another birth when this body? ये सब बाद की प्रक्रिया है, वो बाद में बात करेंगे. अभी we are doing Vivek. Vivek is a qualification for moksha. And moksha का मतलब ही ये है living with this sense of changeless reality. Discovering it and living with it. जिसने पहचान लिया वो मुक्त हो गया. किससे मुक्त हुआ? Now you must get the answer right. किससे मुक्त हुआ? The limited perception which generates all this joy and sorrow. It is the limited perception of snake which has generated the sorrow. And when I removed the snake, I got the joy. But if I don't recognize the rope as a rope, recognizing the rope as a rope, is it a source of joy or a sorrow? It is neither. It is a fact as a fact. It's just a fact. In the same way, recognizing मुक्त पुरुष वो हो जाता है. हाँ, we are not saying that is, do not overread into what we are saying. I am sticking to the context and the topic. In this context and topic, who is one which gets, who will be called moksha? कौन है? मुक्त कौन है? मुक्त वो है, the one who has removed sansara. Sansara nivritti. Nivritti is the word. Nivritti means it's been withdrawn. Pravritti is when it is multiplying. Imagine one wrong thought about a person, misjudgment, misunderstanding with one person. If you've had with a friend of yours, you are very close, and then most of the friendships land up like that. कहीं ना कहीं किसी ना किसी स्टेज में एक मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग हो ही जाती है, और जब वो मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग हो ही जाती है, एंड तुम कितनी भी कोशिश कर लो उस अंडरस्टैंडिंग को करने की, अब वो सेम चीज नहीं रह पाती है, बिकॉज मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग जो बन गई है. विड्रॉल, हाउ दैट मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग को सॉर्ट अगर आप कर लेते हो, means you withdraw the misunderstanding. You cannot sort it, but you learn the capacity to not misunderstand. See things as they are. So when you have withdrawn the misunderstanding, what happened to the mind? What happened to the relation? What happened to the friendship? To the extent you have withdrawn that, if you never projected the misunderstanding, so you start recognizing, this portion, most of the Vedanta, you can talk according to the adhikari who's listening also. right from the highest level. Like I said yesterday, अगर कोई तैयार है सिर्फ मोक्ष का पूछता है, तो उसको ये सब अब ये सब relational disturbance, these are not their issues. They don't want answer for all this. Why? Because it is not an issue. Why is it not an issue? उसको पता है कि ये टेम्पररी है यार. इशू है भी तो कितना है ना. इट्स जस्ट इतना लाइफ है तो कुछ तो सहन करोगे ना. These are not important. You don't give them the same importance. But as the same portion of Vedanta, when the minds who are listening itself is jumbled up in their personal problems and issues, so the same thing gets percolated into this. Yes, you get freedom from here also. So sansara word, sansara nivritti means you become so equipped by just the viveka shakti. You become so equipped that you begin to see things as they are. So a lot of samsara anyway has nivrit. हो गया ना. बनता ही नहीं, बनने ही नहीं देते आप. शुरुआत ही नहीं होती तो बढ़ेगा कहां से? Because your viveka buddhi is available to you before, in a mixed up situation. On all life is going to be all mixed up because it is relational life. No two people are alike, therefore nothing can remain from one person's standpoint. Every rishta is from two people's standpoint, no? तो कुछ ना कुछ तो बनता है. घपला is the right word, I don't know. कुछ ना कुछ तो बनता है यहाँ पे. मतलब it's like उतार चढ़ाव होता ही होता है, होना ही है. इनफैक्ट वेदांता में तो हम इतने सर्टन हैं कि there is no respite. अगर if you do not know the satyam, then not knowing that satyam as you is ignorance. And जहां ignorance है वहां संसार है. They will come together, two sides of a coin. तो जितना ज्यादा संसार लग रहा है, वेदांत वाले को सबको समझ में आता है ये अविद्या जकड़ी है. और अविद्या का सबसे बड़ा पहला shoot is अहंकार. And we all understand the rest now. So you see how Viveka Shakti, employed at its best, gives you freedom complete, and the sansara nivritti then is further elaborated. अभी तो हम इस जीवन की बात कर रहे हैं ना. जो जिज्ञासु हैं, जो सोच सकते हैं, वो पूछते हैं कि ये जीता जाता इंसान जिसकी मैं चिता अभी जला के आया, ये गया कहाँ? इसका entire sense of I कहाँ चला गया? Burnt with fire. But I did not, when I was burning, my hand burnt sometimes in my life, supposing. It's the same thing, no? If a small part of me, कुछ गरम चीज पर डोसा तवा पे गलती से हमने अपनी उंगली रख दी. Hot तवा, not cold. रख दी, या रोटी के तवे पे उंगली जल गया ना. वो जो जला उसने मेरे अहंकार को, मेरे I को जलाया. Get it? In the same way, this sansara nivritti then means कि जन्म जन्मांतर में that we returning, this is another prakriya. But when you take it from the highest point, it just means you're freed from the cycle of birth and death. But from this life standpoint, sansara nivritti would mean living with the reality as is. And what that reality is, I have still not defined it for you. I'm going to leave it here because Viveka Shakti means capacity, and now ending. Capacity to separate the mix-up. बस. अब विचार हमको ये करना है, हमें तो मिक्सअप यहाँ लग ही नहीं रहा कुछ. हम तो सब ये रियल लगता है. ये मेरा आना जाना भी रियल लगता है, दुनिया भी रियल लगती है, दुनिया में सब कुछ हो रहा है ये भी रियल लगता है. युग आए युग गए, राजा आए राजा गए, अब ये आए वो गए. मतलब ये आना जाना तो लगा रहेगा, की फर्क पड़ता है. मैं की करा, मैं खावा पीवा सोवा रोवा ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ मैं कुछ भी करा. हाँ, then don't complain of I, whatever that word means. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ कुछ भी करना है, खाना पीना रोना सोना जो भी अपनी जिंदगी है, कुछ भी कर लो, no problem, but then don't complain about the sansara because they are inevitable sides of the coin. If you want to live with a sense of limitation, sansar will be there, accept it. Don't find freedom from it. Don't try to find happiness. Can you be with it? क्या रोक सकते हो आप अपने आप को आनंद ना ढूंढने के लिए? Nobody can stop. Therefore, Vedanta is not like, Swami Chinmayanand used to say, and we've heard this. He used to say it is drinking tiger's milk, digesting tiger's milk. Everybody will not digest this, and it is so simple. It's not difficult. But why does it not get digested? Because I'm not yearning for it. I don't want it. मेरी बस ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर दो ना. मुझे जॉब नहीं है, जॉब मिला दो. पैसे नहीं है, पैसे दे दो. मेरे बच्चे का शादी नहीं हो रही, शादी कर. मेरा बच्चा हो नहीं रहा है, बच्चा करा दो. मेरे को ये all sadhu sant are meant only for this. ये दे दो, ये दे दो, ये दे दो. And when there is a shastra like this who says तुमको ये problems ही नहीं है कोई, why do you want to own up something which is not there? Why do you want to live with the snake perception when the snake is not there? Do you get the point? Shankara says here, we continue with the snake perception because we do not examine. Viveka Shakti we don't employ. And Viveka Shakti, I'm returning back to the beginning class just now. Viveka Shakti hoti sab mein hai. As a human being, it is a gift. You are endowed with it. But we just don't employ it. Because it takes some strain. So when you start employing and seeing things as they are, it's relative freedom. So with this, I'm concluding here now. For now, this topic is vast, but we need to consolidate it for your first hearing and digestion also. This is Viveka as eligible. I've given enough examples and I've gone into some depth purposely, even at the cost of 2-3 of you feeling lost sometimes, and I may lose your attendance in the class, but I'm not going to bother about that because what is essential is the topic. This needs to be understood. If you get used to listening at that point, appreciating knowledge at that point, everything else is anyway very, very simple, and they're not important beyond a point. They're important only in that context, but that's it. It's not all important. So Viveka Shakti, the capacity, जो इंसान सोच सकता है सच क्या है, and most of us who have held Vedanta for our life, who even searched for it, were able to come to this knowledge only because before the knowledge came, we were questioning. We did not start the inquiry after the knowledge came to us. It is because of that inquiry that we sought the knowledge. You had to figure out what will give you answers for this. क्योंकि तुम्हारे लिए it's not enough to say खाओ पियो बड़े हो जॉब करो पैसे कमाओ बच्चे हो बच्चों का फिर देखभाल, वो सब अपनी जगह पे करेक्ट है, बट क्या जीवन इतने में खत्म हो जाता है? Is there something worthwhile in life that can be added, that curd can be added to the same existing life? You don't have to change anything. That addition of the curd are all these questions. And that comes with viveka being developed. I'll end the class here first, and we'll continue next week. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaः, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhave. Hari Om.
Thank you, Deepti ji.
Thank you, Deepti ji.
The broadcast of Big Live has stopped.
So much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Deepti ji?
Yes, please.
Whenever you think it's appropriate, help me understand the difference between indifference. So, enjoying life but not being attached to it because it is transient and impermanent, versus indifferent कि मतलब हमें कुछ दुख सुख ही ना हो, किसी भी चीज से कुछ फर्क ही ना पड़े, which I feel is not really living because it is indifference, and yet being detached but living fully and not becoming indifferent, and finding how to navigate these fine lines. जब भी आप, क्योंकि कई बार उसमें बहुत मुझे कई बार होता है अच्छा चलो छोड़ो, कुछ भी नहीं है तो हम कुछ फिक्र नहीं करेंगे, but then when you get involved and engaged, then you get hurt and you get happy, and so this interplay,
Excellent.
whenever you can, help us understand.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big topic, but I will just introduce two words just now, and then I think that topic comes in this text only because this text is very comprehensive. That later stage when the human beings breakup starts, over there we'll see. But the thing is that every human being is made up of three gunas. The word is gunas. You may have heard it probably a lot of Ayurveda, and these have now propagated it enough now. It is tamas, rajas, and sattva. So indifference means you're not even expressing yourself full. That is a state of tamas. Tamas is not desirable. Therefore, every person must fight, means get out of tamas and get into motion. That motion is rajas. So experiencing happiness and then experiencing sadness and milta, this is all rajasic. That rajasic state means as the perception comes, I also react to them. At least you're better off than the non-reactively appearing to be, calm person, but he's actually indifferent. Above this is the sattvic person, which is the point of human development, which is that while I'm living like any person would live, I have the reactions under my control. The joy is of independence, not of the dependent happiness. That I have gained the independence from it, which is giving me the joy. So my capacity to be joyful with or without is that state of sattva. I mean, this is just a very broad overview in the context of the question just now.
Yeah, okay.
So, indifference is not a desirable state at all, and Shastra does not talk of encouragement of indifference. So people mistake it, when sannyasi are indifferent, so they think that is what Shastra. No. It says stay where you are. The whole Gita is telling Arjuna fight. It's not Arjuna तो कह रहा है मैं संन्यास ले लूं भाग जाऊं, और कृष्णा उसको पकड़ के रथ चला रहा है उसका, इमेजिन, और उसको कह रहा है नहीं तू लड़, इस लड़ाई में लड़, मैं तेरा साथी बनता हूँ, नॉट इवन मैं तेरा गाइड बनता हूँ. It's not that I'll fight for you. He says I'll only take care of your chariot. You fight your war because this is your war. It is not my war. It is not I have to fight for you. You have to fight your war. So while he wants to run away, take the art of what Vedas give as an option to people to discard the responsibility. Most of us get overwhelmed with our sense of responsibility and want to cut it out, cut it short by encouragement of tamas. That that's what it's saying. The discussion starts to say, watch out in you those aspects which can fall into tamas and do not grow them in your personality. Take care not to encourage those tamasic elements in yourself. Be careful that you stay at least in rajas. Disturbed mind is better than an indifferent mind.
Absolutely, because otherwise we think कि अगर हम that joy and sadness are two sides of the same coin, कि अगर हम खुश होते हैं तो फिर हम दुखी भी होंगे. But what you are teaching us is we have to seek that perpetual happiness, which is our state.
Absolutely. And connect to that. Remain connected with that.
Yes.
That things, contrary things can also come in life. They will come in life. Nobody is guaranteed कि आपको सब सही सही मिलेगा जिंदगी में. मगर जब दिक्कतें आती हैं या द्वेष आता है या कुछ भी obstacles आते हैं, difficult times आते हैं, then if you are there as a stronger person, you only forbear. There are qualities that he's going to talk of next. One of them will be titiksha. How to forbear difficult times. So all those things he will now, once we come through this, since we are going, I personally am very, very satisfied with the way we are moving.
Yes.
But it just is that by the time you'll come to the portions where these will talk, dhire dhire you'll see how the it keeps building up. The building is beginning to form, and the perception will start giving all answers. That's why I said keep questions written down, and you will realize that by the end of it, most of them would have got answered.
Thank
Because
you.
they're all coming in the process.
I have a question. You said that there are three states of a human being, and 1/3 is waking, 1/3 is dream, and 1/3 is sleeping. But aren't sleep and dream together? So shouldn't it be half? Like, but you kept emphasizing on the fact that waking is 1/3. So I want to understand why.
The reason only is because actually from one standpoint you're right, absolutely correct. One of the Upanishad calls the dream and the sleep as one state, correct. Then it will be half and half. But from say a Mandukya Upanishad, it's one of the Upanishads which gives the analysis of the three states, means waking, dream and deep sleep. So this is the common point from where we start. More advanced vision is there are only two states. And a little more elaboration on that is actually there are two states as dream and waking, because deep sleep is not a state, it is your nature.
Yeah.
It is where you actually are without all this, layers on you, the layer of the body, the layer of the mind, the layer of the intellect, the layer of the food, the sheets that will, you'll see the differentiations that we have over that core being of ours. We have all these layered. The expression of this layers, a manifestation into these layers is the waking state. So sleep is actually freedom from all of them, where you've discarded them. When you discard these states and you are abiding only in your pure self, without association, but that's temporary, because you wake up again and you put on those coats again. What Vedanta says is, knowledge says is, that temporary resolution that you anyway have full of peace that you call as yourself, where you slept peacefully. Nobody's deep sleep state is not a peaceful state. So if that is your real state, then that state should be aspired for when you are awake to recognize who you are. ये तो cycle में डला है nature के through. You get some respite. But it's obviously not resolved for good, because you wake up again putting on the coats. You may keep changing your coats and colors, but doesn't matter. You still will wake up.
So ideally, like you would like to reach the sleeping state when you're in the waking state.
You can put it that way. Yeah, absolutely. Sustaining that in wakefulness.
Deepti ji, are we real or are we also a reflection? Because we are part of sansar.
Excellent question. Excellent question. That is the Viveka question. Are we real or are we a part of it? That's the mix-up. A part of us is real and a part of us is not real. So you need to separate out the unreal part, the mithya part, and keep the satya, recognize the satya part. You're not entirely one. See, you see yourself as one today. And who's that one? You see yourself as an individual. You can't see anything else. तो हम, thanks to Vedanta, that we're coming this far to even recognize that there is a conscious being and there's a possibility that, you know, because I can see that I never am not conscious. Consciousness doesn't leave me, no. Even in sleep, has consciousness left me or has my sense of body left me?
Sense of body is left.
Sense of body has left me. Consciousness did not leave me. So there seems to be both mixed up in my thinking. Don't worry, as we keep moving slowly, answer to it today is, yes, this is exactly like the rope and snake situation. A part of you is real and a part of you is not real. And you have to separate away the unreal part. In your thinking, you can't separate them physically. You can separate the thinking because your seeing the snake was also a mental misperception. So you seeing yourself an individual is also a mental mix-up. So you just separate up the mix-up. I know it sounds like, just kar do na aise. It's like, you know,
Yeah, it's very easy.
We are part snake and part rope. Some of us
That's
is the
right.
rope and some of us is the snake.
Yeah, absolutely. The ropeness का जो length है, जो shape है, जो qualities दिख रही है, वो actually आप snake में देख रहे हो. And snakeness की जो liveliness है, वो आप rope में देख रहे हो. And that is why there's a mix-up. Very good. Very, very good. And that's the mix-up here at the individual level. The conscious being who's free of all of it, I'm mixing it up with this limited attributes of the body and the mind, and this life itself that is expressed, that I'm putting into the body. So mix up करके ऐसे हो, I am nothing or I am this, that I am के साथ जो सब जुड़ जाता है ना. I am short, I am tall, I am short and tall तो body के हैं, आप कहाँ से हो गए? And but there are people, remember, I don't know if it's still prevalent, but I'm sure every generation has it, where the growing children have so many complexes about their body. I'm dark, I am this and that. It's a body. It's given you for some reason. जैसे भी है अब ठीक है यार, अब बदल तो सकते नहीं इस जन्म में. That's it. It's thankful that they are operative. You have an operative mechanism here. That's important. If you had a body all beautiful but non-operative, क्या करोगे उसका? Whatever it is, it's God's grace. Don't call it any name. Doesn't matter. Accept whatever there is, what you can't change. And just accepting what you can't change, and then start thinking where in this life is that, wherever is the source of it, of that sense of fullness कहाँ पे आ रही है? क्यों मैं हमेशा ढूंढती रहती हूँ या ढूंढता रहता हूँ? Why is nothing real ever putting me in a state of bus? Even that bus state of ours leaves us only for a short time. Then we want to do something else. Then we want something else. What are we really? What will make us complete? What will make us full? क्या मिल जाएगा मुझको ऐसा कि उसके बाद मैं कहूँ कि बस अब नहीं कुछ, मतलब अब that finishes away. And this is where you have the context of all moksha and mukta purusha. मुक्त कौन हो गए? सिर्फ वही मुक्त हुआ है जो अब ये कह सकता है कि अब मुझे कुछ और, मतलब उसकी प्रवृत्ति for want of anything else is gone. खत्म हो गई है. अभी we all have fuel. We'll all be, it's like, okay, now I'll do this, I'll run. No, all of us are looking for something that will fill us more. Whatever we are looking with an idea that will fill us more is the seed of samsara. But yet a wise person can do the same things without looking for it. That Gita tells us that once you become free, you may continue to do the same things. You can act, but now for lokasangraha. Just for the welfare of those who still are bound and caught. So with this, and now that all of you have said, I will try and compile something which is at all levels, from simple to a little more, penetrating. I'll try and do this so that it's comprehensive. Don't get overwhelmed by the questions. We are not here to expect answers. We are just here to let our mind be with the topic. Just let the thoughts go in that direction. There is no right or wrong. There's no judgment. There is no nothing at all. It's just purely, it's like, on our own, even if we go back to listening to tapes and recordings, we know beyond 1 or 2 times, we can't listen to it again. It kind of, it's not the same thing. So, of course, to answer, you may have to, which is different thing, but I'll just try. It'll take me a little time, but I'll try. And I'll hope I can do it, because tomorrow, day after, I'll take a class. So I'll try and do it as early as possible so that you have time in the week. And we'll try and take a call on Friday. If you want more time to dwell, stay with the topic, or should we just move on? And then, you can keep adding, consolidate to your best capacity, not final capacity. No, it will not be final. It'll be your best. As knowledge keeps growing, you will realize that so much relearning will happen. So it will be just a discipline of thought. So I'll try and send it, and I'll make a form. Yeah. Great. Take care, all of you. Namaste. Stay well. Stay happy.
Thank you, Deepti ji, very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, 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 Deepti ji.